What's up, P-Pod? What's up? What's up? What's up? It's your boy, Shaun P., the leader and general of the illest team known to man, the Purefoys, a.k.a. your family's favorite family. And you are tuning in to Live with Shaun and Key. This is our weekly live broadcast where we give you updates on the family. We talk about current events. We try our best to give advice, relationships, from a man's perspective and a woman's perspective. And we also try to, give a little word from the Lord as we, just navigate this thing we call life. It's good to see the faithful P-Pod in the building. What's up? What's up? What's up?
I'm sharing, y'all. Sorry.
What's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. We're sharing right now, and we are just getting ourselves together. Give me 1 second as we just get set up. Don't go nowhere again. You are tuned into the right program. You're live with the Purefoys. Live with Shaun and Key, our weekly broadcast. And today we are going to be talking about, actually Key is going to be sharing a lot of her testimony. Last week we opened up about, how we came to be, our story. And, it was such a long story that we had to break it down a little bit. So today we're going to be talking about, Key's journey to where we are now. We're also going to be talking about becoming a blended family and just how we navigate that and get through all of that. Just give me 1 more second so that I can get everything together. I'm trying to get on the live.
Oh.
Pour in. If you're on Facebook or Twitter, please share us with everyone.
Hey, everybody.
Oh, that's why. The thumbnail is wrong. So So welcome back, you guys. As we started talking about last week, we opened up about being a blended family. As if you tuned in last week, you know that Nakia and I, we started off as what would you call us in high school?
I don't know.
We were friends. We were friends that kissed. We were friends that kissed. And because just life happens and boys will be boys, even though there's no excuse. We kind of went our separate ways after high school. And we went to college. I went to college, she went to college down in DC?
No, Maryland. But
it was in Maryland.
I actually never made it there all the way because, well, it'll come up.
Right. So we went on to do and live separate lives. To make a long story short, because that was last week, you can definitely check it out. We'll put the cards up for you to view last week's live. But, life happened, and we went our separate ways. And through God's just goodness to us and just my never-ending pursuit to be with this woman, we found ourselves getting back to one another. And, through a bunch of drama and turmoil, we made it to the altar, and in front of our friends and family, we got married. So shout outs to us, shout outs to love, shout outs. And here we are now talking live with you all. So if you're on Facebook or Twitter, please share us. And we're going to start talking now about just a blended family. Or do you want to give your story first? Because I think we should give your story first.
And then go into...
Yeah, I think, if you talk more about, like, what happened after high school. And I think that would be a great segue for us to get into, how do we wind up here?
Okay. Do I need to move this closer?
I don't think so.
It's okay?
If you just project your voice a little bit, I think you should be good.
Okay, guys. Hi, y'all. All right, so I'm going to start with my testimony, and you will see exactly why it is a testimony. So, leaving high school, all during high school, I was actually, I was a pretty good kid. I don't want to say I wasn't. I was a pretty good kid. I did have some strict parents. My parents were divorced. My dad's a pastor. He was living upstate New York at the time. And my mom, and I lived with my mother and my stepfather. So what happened was, I graduated high school, and I basically wanted to do my own thing. And, the rebellious side in me just said, hey, I'm going to do on my own thing. And I started hanging out on the streets. And like, guys, when I tell you I was hanging out on the street, I mean, like, I was hanging out with the Bloods and the Crips and smoking weed on the corners and like crazy. I mean, I wasn't like prostituting or anything like that, but I was just hanging out, like drinking and doing all sorts of doing all sorts of things that I shouldn't have been doing at the age of 18 years old at all, but at the age of 18 years old. And I was really out there, guys. And I was out there for so I graduated in June, about 3 months, and I was supposed to go away to college. I was accepted to Coppin State in Maryland, and I went down there for their summer orientation. I was down there for a couple weeks, and I came home and then went back out on the block, just like it was nothing, and I ended up, not going to school. And don't ask why I ended up not going to school. I don't know. I guess I felt as though I wanted to, do my own thing, and I didn't want to waste anybody's time, and I didn't know what I wanted to go to school for at the time. And so I didn't go. I didn't go to school, and I said I wasn't going to go away. I think I was a little fearful too. I was a bit scared to be on my own. So I said I wasn't going to go away. I was just going to stay here, and I was going to go to Essex County, the West Essex campus in West Caldwell. So that's exactly what I did. I stayed here. I started school. I just went to that campus, and I just commuted. I just commuted to there, and I did a couple semesters, and I found out I was pregnant. Now, from hanging on the streets, I had a boyfriend who was a drug dealer, and I was really out there, y'all. He was a drug dealer, and I mean, like, there was certain times that I could come to the block, and certain times he didn't want me coming to the block, and certain times I would just meet him at his house or whatever the case may be. But he always used to tell me, like, I don't even want you out here, period. Like, you're from Montclair. Like, go home. Like, go to school. Like, if I skipped school, it was like he yelled at me. Like, why are you not in school? And I'm like, oh, well, I just wanted to hang out today. Like, no, you need to be in school. So, like, that happened, and I found out that I was pregnant with Xavier, and I was like, I'm going to get an abortion, and I just like totally going against anything, like for being on the block, like smoking weed, drinking, having premarital sex. Like, I'm totally going against my Christian values that I was raised with, like just totally rebelling. And I remember my best friend, I told my best friend, and she was like, okay, well, I'll take you. And I remember the morning that she was supposed to come pick me up at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I was still in church. How old was he, if you don't mind asking? He was like a year older than me. Not even. He was my age. He was maybe a couple months older than me. Yeah. 2 months older than me. He was. So he was my age. He was young. And he never finished high school. He had actually dropped out in 10th grade or something like that to hustle too, you know? So, yeah. So, where was I still in church? I was still in church until I graduated high school. It was kind of like, oh, well, I'm going to do me, you know, I'm tired of going to church every Sunday because, you know, it's a routine, or because my mom told me. Like, I just wanted something different, I guess. I don't know. I really don't know. So, so I remember she was supposed to come pick me up to take me. And you know, your best friend is supposed to tell you when your crap stink. And she used to tell me all the time, like, you know, Nikki, I don't think that, you know, you should have an abortion. Like, don't do it. Just tell your mom. Your mom, she's going to be upset. She's going to be disappointed. But, you know, she loves you and she'll help you, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, I'm not telling my mom. Just come get me. So that morning, she came to get me, but she was sitting outside, and she called her mom. She told her mom, and her mom called my mom and told my mom. So my mom came into my bedroom when she was outside, and was like, "Are you pregnant?" And I just like my life came crumbling down, you know, like. And my mother was so, I might get emotional because now that I'm thinking about it, like, she was so loving and not like
condemning.
Yeah, she wasn't condemning me at all. And it's crazy because, like, growing up with her, it was like hard sometimes because she was always so like the old church, like, don't do this, don't do that, you're not going here, you're not going there, you know. And like, so I was thinking like that I couldn't go to her about those things, you know. And like, I remember, you know, once I started like having sex or whatever, there was this one time, like, I had a yeast infection, but that had nothing to do with that situation. And she was like, you know, she came in my room, and I guess she found the medicine. She was like calling me all these names and stuff like that. So I'm thinking that, you know, well, I know I had a yeast infection, and she was calling me, you know, like, names. I know that if I'm pregnant, she gonna call me, you know, like the worst name ever. Mm-hmm. So, but that wasn't even the case. She was so loving, and, you know, I'm thankful for that, and I'm thankful for my best friend. And, you know, my parents from New York came down. My other set of parents came down. We all sat together, and we were just, my father was like, "We are here for you." And my mother, they were like, "We are here for you. What do you want to do? Whatever you do, we will support you. We will be right there. We will have your back." And then, you know, if you have somebody telling you, you know, "I have your back," like, what? You know, so I ended up having Xavier, you know. And then, like, the day he was born, like, my face was like, I couldn't even imagine getting rid of this kid, you know. Yeah. Could you imagine this kid not being here? Do we have any questions I need to answer? Oh, yes, I was so scared. But yeah, she stuck by me, and so I was a teen mom when Xavier was born. I was 19 years old. It was like my whole family was on deck. I was a manager at Mandy, the clothing store, and I was also babysitting my baby cousin at the same time. So it's like I had 2 jobs, walking around pregnant, going from one job to the other, just stacking money. And is your dad still involved in Xavier's life? No, he's not involved. He's actually deceased. Yeah, he's deceased. So, but he wasn't involved from day one. I remember going down there. I moved to New York to live with my dad when Xavier was about a month old because I just needed to get away. You know, like, I don't need this life. So once I found out I was pregnant, I just flipped my life back to my old life. I was Christian again. I gave my life back to Christ, and, you know, I had to get away. So I went up to New York, and my dad and my stepmother, they really like jumped in and helped me out. And I remember coming back, to visit my friends and my parents, obviously, my mom and my stepfather. And, I remember taking Xavier to see him one time and him telling me, like, this isn't the life for him, and I'm like, what do you mean? And the whole time we did speak, it was always that same thing. Now, he had other kids after Xavier. Xavier's the oldest, but he had other kids after. But this is the life for them. So it was just kind of weird for me, but I think that's just what God wanted. I think that God designed it just like that, because he never wanted me to hang out on the block. He always wanted me to go to school. He never, during our talks, he would always tell me, this isn't the life for you. And so once Xavier came, this isn't the life for him. Your life is the life for him. Take him to your life, your people, and
just hold on one second.
Yeah.
So for those of you who are just joining us, this is Live with Shaun and Key. This is our weekly broadcast. And right now we are just giving our backstory, just being a little bit transparent about how we made it here. Every story starts somewhere. And it's amazing how God puts people together and how God joins people together. So right now, Nakia is telling her testimony about, how after high school, and we'll give, of course, the description and cards to refer you back to the last week's live. But we met in high school, and now after high school, Nakia and I, we went on to live totally separate lives. And Nakia is now just giving her backstory about how she was a teen mom, and how Xavier came to be, and just the things that she had to go through as a teen mom. But it's just awesome how God orchestrates things and how God puts certain people in your life, because we have a wonderful support system, and from day one, Nakia's parents, all of her parents, have been very supportive of her. Of course, with parents being parents, is not always the easiest road. You don't always do things picture perfectly, but they've never left her side. They've been there since day one, and even to this day, anything that we need concerning the children or even just us, our parents are definitely there for us. So continue, Boo.
Okay, so we'll fast forward to my life in New York now. It's totally different. I'm working, my stepmother's watching Xavier while I'm at work and stuff like that. They're really helping out. And I went back on that old AOL chat room that I couldn't. And I met another guy, and meeting him and talking to him, it seemed like, the right thing to be doing. It seemed like the right person. And I just want to stop and just say, like, if it's not your time, then it's not your time. So at the moment, my time should have been to just take care of my son and really get my life together, and which is what I was doing. But then it all just kind of came tumbling down again. So I met this guy, we hit it off or whatever, and I ended up moving back to New Jersey just to be closer to him, and we ended up getting engaged, and we were together, I don't even know how long, but we ended up getting engaged, and I remember during that engagement, a lot of things happened during that engagement, and I remember praying and just asking God that if this is not the right person for me, can you please tell me? Send me a sign, Lord. Send me a sign, Lord. And, I was raised around praying women and praying men, so I know how to pray and I know how to listen. And, But I became real hard-headed again, just real hard-headed, because the flesh wants what it wants. And it's ever since I was a little girl, all I wanted was to be married and have kids and just have a beautiful family, but I wanted to do it in my time and not in God's time. So I prayed that prayer, and I remember God showing me these signs. I mean, I remember me praying that prayer, and I remember catching an attitude, and I was in my car, and I caught an attitude with him. And because I caught an attitude, he punched my windshield and broke it, and that was a sign, because the attitude that I caught, it was like, well, when I catch an attitude, right? Is it that bad? Do you think it's that bad?
It can be. Can be. She could be a cold piece of something when she wants to be. Fortunately, I don't get to see that side that much because I'm just really awesome. But when it has happened in my times of not being so awesome, and it can be a lot. It can be women have that side. As everyone does. Mm-hmm. So,
okay.
I don't know.
So I guess it was that bad. But he broke my windshield. And there was a couple of other things that transpired after that. But I chose to ignore all the signs. And, I remember my mother coming to me, sitting me down, and she was like, look, if you don't want to get married, we could just cancel this whole wedding. We could just cancel it. And I was like, no, I'm going to get married. I'm just going to get married. And in the beginning, my mother was not telling me those things. She was telling me, if you're going to do this, you need to get married. If you're going to have sex, you need to get married. She was very clear, So I was also, I don't know. In my mind, I was just like, well, I want to do right by God. But God was telling me, you ain't doing right by me because you ain't supposed to be marrying him, So I got married. I was in a verbally abusive relationship. It became abusive. It was just not the right relationship. I ended up having Jaden in that marriage, and it was horrible. But as soon as those things started happening, I got out of it. It was nothing that I stayed in because I felt like I couldn't get out or anything like that. I really just took my kids and I hit the hills. I really just ran. And
did you say that you had Jaden?
Yeah. Oh, I said talking to them. Did you end it? Yeah, I got married. We got married. I had Jaden, and then it was crazy from there. It was crazy. I had Jaden. Verbal abuse came maybe a year later. Physical abuse came. So I got out of there, and I don't regret it. I don't want to say that I didn't try to what's the word I'm looking for? I didn't try to mend the relationship. I did try to mend the relationship. We did get back together after that, but it didn't work. We're just clearly we're not for each other. Honestly, I didn't love him enough to want to even have him around. Not wanted to have him. Yeah, I didn't love him enough to want to have him around. And I didn't understand that, in a marriage, it's forever, but I couldn't live that forever. I couldn't live that hurt. I don't want to live hurt and pain every day. I can't live that forever. So I got divorced, and I was a single mom. I was doing my thing. I was working hard, guys. I was working hard. I had a car. Yes. Run, girl. I ran. So, Wow. So I I was working hard. I was a manager at Target at the time. My parents were helping me get my kids to school because my schedule was crazy. I had a pretty set schedule, which I was one of the things that I loved about Target. Like I was off every Tuesday, every other weekend, worked maybe 1 or 2 nights a week, depends on the weekend. But it was like a pretty set schedule, and it made it easier for me to be able to do things with my kids and let my parents know about my kids, when they needed to be picked up and stuff like that. But it was a trying time, and I remember still trying to date as a single parent, and my mom supported that. My parents supported that because they know, my mom knew how hard it was. There was a time she was a single parent, and I tried to date, but everybody I dated was just like, I had no sympathy for any man. I had no, I didn't care. I didn't care. So if a man was like, look, if he gave me his BS, basically, I was just like, dude, I'm good. Like, just go about your business. I'm good. And it wasn't until like I really started getting myself together and really just focusing on me, focusing on, okay, well, what kind of wife do I want to be? What kind of mother do I want to be when and just focusing on God. And it wasn't until I decided to give God my everything. And I mean, like, just worship him, like I need you to talk to me, So once I started talking to him again, once I started worshiping him, once I started repenting and just like all those things, how he just turned my life around. And I will say, like, I had no tolerance. Like, I have 2 kids. I have my own place. I have my own car. Like, please, just go away. You don't need to bring me down. Like, I had no tolerance. So it wasn't until I fully, like, changed my life around and decided to, let God in to my heart, that he started working on my heart. And once he started working on my heart, like, I was open to love. Like, I don't think that I was never not open to love, but I didn't really have patience. So like I could be in love, but because I didn't want to tolerate anything, so the patience just went out the window. So once that happened, like, God started mending my heart where I can actually like talk to people, normal without getting all upset. And it was like, I don't know, it was a 360, guys. And I'm going to tell you, like, right then at that point in my life, and I was actually praying for a husband at this time and stuff like that. And right at this point in my life, this guy Facebook messages me. So it was about a week before I changed my name from my married name, and I put my maiden name in there so that if anybody wanted to find me, they could. And I don't know what made me think to do that. I don't know. It was probably the Lord. And I did that, and as soon as I did that, it was like not even a week later, he messages me. And that was just like, wow. And then you guys already know the story from there. Yes, he will pull you through. Like, you delight yourself in him, he will give you the desires of your heart. Like, Ephesians 3:20 is, what's that scripture? I
don't know off the top of my head.
It is, I have it right here. Oh, now to him who is able to do far more abundantly beyond all that we can ask or think, according to the power that worketh within us. So, like, I didn't realize that my dreams were so small compared to what he had for me. Like, I wanted this little city over here when he had a whole country over here for me. You know, I wanted this little shack when he had a mansion for me, you know, and that was just like, I still like am in awe. Like, I still can't believe that this is this, you know. How did you know your hubby was the one? I prayed a lot. Like, I was praying a lot around that time. Lord, show me signs. When I ask for signs, he proposes. You know, it was like, I don't know. His family was just so like
I always put it this way, right? When God has a designed destiny for us, right? Mm-hmm. He has a destination for us, and he's already created a path for us to get to that destination. Mm-hmm. What our problem is, instead of taking God's path to that destination, you know, we wind up taking our own path. So I think about it as like, you need to go on a highway to get to a certain place, but you're driving on the opposite side of the road, as opposed to driving on the correct side of the road.
Yeah, so you have these
you might be going, you're still going in the same direction.
Yeah.
And even though you're on the right side of the road that God has put you on there, like, there might be a little traffic, there might be, you know, some bumps, and you know, you might even catch a flat tire, but it is the most direct way to get you to where God is leading you to. Mm-hmm. The thing with us is, and that's fine, you're still going to get to your destination.
Yes.
But if you're driving on the opposite road, which is what a lot of us do, it's like, it's really exciting because, you know, all the cars are coming back to you. You got to dip and dodge, and, you know, like, your adrenaline is pumping, and, you know, you have to do all of these things. You have to avoid all of these things because, you know, you're going the wrong way. You know, you're heading in the right direction. Both paths are headed north, or whichever direction you're heading, where God is leading you to. And they're both heading in the same direction, but there is so much opposition on this other side that you have to deal with, compared to what you would have to deal with on the right side of the road. So that's really what happens. You know, when you try to outdo God, and when you try to, you know, do things your own way and not listen, things become extremely hard. So for us coming together, everything kind of sort of clicked, you know, like, we talked about the bumps and bruises that we went along, that, you know, we encountered along that way, because, you know, I was still out, you know, doing my, you know, I was still immature and still trying to be this macho guy that was with a lot of women and things like that. So we had to deal with that. We had to deal with, you know, just not working on our trust, you know, and, you know, so we had those things. And again, like, no road that God has put you on is not going to be free from opposition. You're always going to experience some opposition, because God is designed those things to test you, so that you can trust him, so that you can rely on him and not lean onto your own understanding sometimes. But what we think is, as soon as we get a little opposition, then we want to do things our own way. And that's what, you know, that's when we start running into more opposition, and that's when we start running into more trouble. That's when we start running into more strife. So the key to it is to stay on the path that God has given you. And, you know, even though we faced some struggles in our lives, you know, it led us to where we are now. You know, we still wound up getting married, and things were easier. You know, like, you know, once we got over the initial just like nonsense, and, you know, like, I was able to commit, you know, things went pretty smoothly. You know, we spent more time together. We were able to communicate and really like get things on the road, and like, just our path to like being engaged was just like, it was just like blissful. I don't remember like anything like serious happening, anything detrimental to our relationship happening before we got engaged. Like, because we got engaged that February, and like...
You mean after we got engaged?
Stuff happened after we got engaged?
No.
Oh, yeah. So, like, things... You it's of God because, like, God, he gives you the vision, and he also gives you the provision, right? So he's going to make ways, like we were able to pay for our wedding, and we were able to have a grand wedding without breaking our bank. And we even made a profit off of the gifts and things that we got from our friends and family. We had a limo that we rented. It was just going to be like a regular,
Can I tell this story? It was a regular black limo that we rented because obviously we were on a strict budget. It was already $350 for like 7 hours. So we were at our rehearsal dinner. I'm thinking that the limo company is calling to tell us they'll be there tomorrow, or that hopefully there's not a problem. So he says, listen, we have to do a funeral tomorrow morning. Is there any way it will be okay if we give you a white stretch Lincoln Navigator? And I'm like, huh?
Yes, yes, Jesus.
And we
will take that.
Are you kidding me right now? Like, everything was smooth. God made a way for us to have the wedding that we desired to have, and it was crazy. Gosh, I'm thinking about all these things.
Yeah.
It was crazy, but I see some questions.
Someone asked if Jaden's dad is involved. So, funny story about that, and this is how just like God, how God works, right? So, so Nakia and I were dating, and we had just become like really, really involved with one another. So, one day when we were they would spend a lot of time with Jaden's dad, and he would have them like every other weekend or something like that. He had visitation rights. So one day, as we were getting really serious, I go to pick them up from the house, and Jaden's dad, he comes out, and he's like super, I guess he just found out that, Nakia and I were getting serious, and he felt some type of way about that. So this guy, tries to, cause a physical confrontation with me, not knowing that I'm not even gonna go there, yeah. but I knew the type of man that I wanted to be in front of my future sons. So, I told him, I'm like, my man, this is not the time for it. The boys are here. We're not going to have this conversation now. If you want to talk, if you want to hash things out, let's set up an appointment and we can talk about it like men. But, he wanted me to get out the car, and he was like, ain't no other man going to be spanking my kids. Ain't no other man. My kids ain't going to be calling no other man daddy and things of that nature. So, that dies down. After Nakia talks with him or whatever, gets him away from the car. The boys get in the car. We all drive off. And 10 minutes later, he texts Nakia he texts Nakia and says, well, I guess you could forget about that $20 for their haircuts. I guess, have your man give them, have the man pay for their haircuts or something like that. Something really just like super childish and petty. And Nakia begins to weep, and she begins to say, see, I knew that something like this was going to happen. He's always doing these things. And right then and there, my heart was convicted, and I was like, you know what? You don't have to worry about nothing, asking him for nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I will pay for the boys to get their haircuts. You don't have to ask him for anything. And right then and there, we kind of just started. That was the beginning of us living our own lives. So if he called, of course, during that, in the beginning stages, she would let him talk to the boys. When he wanted to get them gifts, he would do really stupid stuff. That's when DJ Hero was coming out. And they really wanted it for Christmas, but he wanted to keep it at his house instead of giving it to them. So he he basically pulled himself out of the picture. And then as our relationship grew, my relationship with the boys grew, and he stopped calling less and less and less, until this day. He hasn't paid child support for the boys, and we've never needed it. That's how good God is. We've never needed it. Of course, it would have been nice at times, but we've never needed it. God has always made a way for me to be a provider for the boys. And when we got married, I made a declaration to the boys that they would never have to call another man daddy ever again in their lives. Like, I am not going nowhere. Y'all are stuck with me. You might not be the fruit of my loins, but you are the fruit of my heart. And, no matter what comes, no matter what goes, you will always be my sons. So, I made a short story, kind of long, but just to show you like the things that happen. Being a stepdad hasn't always been easy, but we have made it work through just communication, love, and just being open and honest with one another. Yeah. When I give myself to anything, I give my everything to them. So, Xavier and Jaden might not be my blood sons, but they know how to play basketball because I showed them how to shoot a ball. I showed them how to play piano. I showed them how to play drums. I taught them how to sing.
Tie their shoes.
I taught them how to tie their shoes. I cut their hair. I wiped their nasty little butts when, we had accidents. I've cleaned up poop, piss, throw up, lots of throw up because, oh my God, I've whooped butt. I've put on punishment. I've been to every parent-teacher conference that they've had. So Shaun Purefoy is Jaden's father. Shaun Purefoy is Xavier's father. Like, they're my kids. And I take that to heart. And, I'm actually good that God actually did that for me because, I don't like to share. I don't like to share nothing. I'm forced to share some things because some people are just hard-headed and they wear my shirts. I mean, I didn't mean to say that. I'm forced to share some things, some things that, I just want for and I just want my kids to be mine. So those are my boys. You can't like people, unless you've listened these last 2 weeks, you would have never known that they weren't my sons because, their mannerisms are mine, and they look like Nakia. So you can always say, oh, they just look like their mother. And that's what everyone says. Or someone's just like, they look just like you.
Yeah. And we're just like, okay.
Yeah. And, people are just saying, it's like, how old is your son? And I just like, Xavier was born when I was 19, and I would just say that, so I, wouldn't lie or anything like that. But it's, they take after me, they talk like me. They don't walk like me, kind of, sort of, they're my boys. So, that's how God has joined us together. And, blending a family, especially like, when you have little kids, when you have older kids and then you're having newer kids, is super important to communicate. So, there were times when Xavier got sad because a baby was coming into the picture. He was fine, I guess, when Ariana was born and Raylan was born because they were girls.
Yeah,
but when we found out that we were having a boy, Xavier got he got nervous and he got scared because, until then, he was daddy's only boy.
No, Jaden was. Jaden's there.
Well,
too, but...
Jaden's.
But he's the oldest.
Him and Jaden were daddy's only boys. Yeah. And, he was the oldest, and, we'd always talk about inheritance and things that he would get, and he felt like, somebody would take his place. And, I really had to sit him down and talk with him and just say, like, no matter what happens, you are my firstborn son. Um, it's Oh, you're definitely welcome,
Yes.
CC. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.
We're running a little long because it's just, that's what we're
Deep.
doing now.
It's deep.
Um, but we had to have a conversation with him, and things were. And then after the conversation, and just like really, really just talking with him, and showing him that nothing was going to change. He accepted his role, and he's like the best big brother.
He is the best big brother. He is.
So
seriously, no man, like, yes, they definitely exist.
We here.
They are here.
We
They are
here.
here, and they are looking for wonderful women. Obviously, he was looking for me, So
Right. Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, like, you have to make yourself available. I wouldn't have never found Nakia if she didn't, make herself discoverable for me. Like, just like when you're hooking up your phone to Bluetooth, you have to be discoverable. You have to be at the right place. You have to be sending the right frequency out. So if you turned up all the time and all you want to do is watch Judge Mathis and Netflix, and you just want to turn up all the time, then you're gonna attract those type of people.
Yeah.
Birds of a feather flock together. And that doesn't just mean with girls with girls and guys with guys. Like, you got to be the type of person. You have to dress for the job you want. You have to dress for the person that you want. And we definitely did those things. And God has saw us through each and every step of the way. So we're definitely grateful for it.
Yes, and because I never want to say, if you're a single parent out there, like, hide your kids from the person, whoever you're dating or whatever the case may be. If you're going to a serious relationship, if you're in a serious relationship, you want to see how this man is going to act with your children, or you want to see how this woman is going to act with your kids. And from seeing him, I already knew that he was like wonderful with children, but seeing just how he reacted and responded to my children just really touched my heart. Like, no man besides their grandpapas have ever, responded to them that way. And that's probably why they took to him so well as well, so.
Yeah, man. It was always, getting to know the boys was even more made her more attractive to me, because these kids, they had great personalities, and they were just like super funny. And I love funny kids. I love kids with personality. And it was just awesome watching them growing, and just because I think we really got together at the right time, because I was able to really impart a lot of things to them. And the fact that they soaked it up so much, and like we just hit it off so much, that it was hard to like get away, because I was invested in them, and then of course I loved her, so like it was just a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
For all of us. And it was they were what I needed at the time, because like I was still like playing boy games, and I needed, there are certain things that God will put in your life
to ground you,
to make you grow up, to make you come into your own. Like with David, it was Goliath. Until then, he was still just like a shepherd boy. But David didn't become the person who we know now. David's story would have never probably been told had he not faced Goliath.
Yeah.
If someone else was able to do that, then there would have been no need for David to step up. So I just really thank God for putting these people in these circumstances in my life that really forced me to make a shift. because he's like, all right, you going too far this way. I need you to go that way. So here's a girl with 2 kids, and there you go. And shift, and this is where you need to go. And I just really had to grow up for them. So yeah.
But yeah, that's it, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, we're watching the screen, so
yeah, it's a lot of going on. Listen, we all just, we thank you all for just tuning in.
Yeah.
And if there aren't any other questions related to what we were talking about tonight, we're going to sign off. And
oh yes, yeah. The road called straight.
It definitely puts you on that road called straight. The straight and narrow.
Yeah.
Do we have a snippet of our wedding?
I don't think we have a snippet. We have just you singing. He wrote a song for me. I think it's up here. Did we?
Yeah, the song that I wrote for Key is up there, but we didn't have a videographer.
No, but we just have pictures.
Yeah, at that time YouTube wasn't even a thought. So
yeah. I think it was just thinking.
Huh?
I don't know. Like YouTube, I think it was just thinking. I don't know.
Yeah. It's in it's in one of our playlists. Mm-hmm. It's in the original songs playlist. So if you go check it out, you'll see Key. It's a lot. This is like a photo thing.
Mm-hmm.
What's it called?
I don't know what you
call it. A photo montage and just like me singing and stuff like that. It's beautiful. You got to go check it out. Go check it out right now. Wait, can I put cards in here?
Yes, he wrote a song, y'all. He wrote a song.
So I'm going to put...
I didn't cry, but the whole sanctuary was crying.
I cried too.
He was crying. He couldn't finish the song. But it was so good. I cried when he gave the declaration to the boys, and he was putting their chains on them, and I cried during that part. That's when I cried. But yeah, it was really beautiful day. I know everybody says their wedding is beautiful, but I think because where God had brought us from and where he had us at that moment, it was beautiful. And just a few short months, because we got married quick.
Yeah, man. We weren't playing with nothing.
Just do it after, babe.
I can do it right now.
Okay. So he's trying to find the card right now. Hope I remember the date. Single uncle, older brother.
So you can check out this. Should be a card just coming in right now, where you can just look at. To
look at the wedding.
Yeah, to look at that video. Hope when I'm ready to date, you have a single uncle, older brother.
He doesn't have a single. He doesn't have a single uncle. Well, he doesn't have.
Where are you from? Mommy needs a timeout. Who's that?
Or older brother. That's Jeannie Sulfa. She's I'll show you on.
Got it. Okay. Well, we going. I know some dudes.
Yes, he does know some good guys.
Yeah. So we'll make it work. We'll make it work. But if there aren't any more questions, you guys.
We love y'all. Thank you so much. Yes, God's timing is.
Thank y'all so much. Tomorrow is I guess is when we get kicked off the YouTube partnership.
Oh, that's tomorrow.
I think that, yeah. So
it's okay.
It's all good.
Yes.
So this is Shaun
and Key.
And always remember, guys, to
live, let love. Peace.
Peace out. Good night.